Hello everyone, got 10 best lawyer jokes for you today. So a lawyer runs a stop sign and gets pulled over by a sheriff. He thinks he's smarter being a big shot lawyer from New York and has a better education than a sheriff from West Virginia. The sheriff asks for license and registration. The lawyer asks, "What for?" The sheriff responds, "You didn't come to a complete stop at the stop sign." The lawyer says, "I slowed down and no one was coming." "You still didn't come to a complete stop." "License and registration, please," said the sheriff impatiently. The lawyer says, "If you can show me the legal difference between slow down and stop, I'll give you my license and registration and you can give me the ticket. If not, you let me go and don't give me the ticket." The sheriff says, "That sounds fair. Please exit your vehicle." The lawyer steps out and the sheriff takes out his nightstick and starts beating the lawyer with it. The sheriff says, "Do you want me to stop or just slow down?" So a man is driving his truck down the highway when he sees a priest walking along the side. He stops and asks the priest whether he'd like a ride. "Thank you, my son," the priest replies as he climbs into the truck. They travel down the road a bit, and the man sees a lawyer walking along the side of the highway. He aims for the lawyer, intending to run him over. At almost the last moment, he realizes, "I can't run over that lawyer. I've got a priest in my truck." He tries to swerve away, but he hears a thump as he passes the lawyer. He tells the priest, "I'm sorry, Father. I barely missed that lawyer." To which the priest replies, "Don't worry, son. I got him with the door." So a prominent lawyer, who had spent his entire career tirelessly fighting for his clients, had finally passed away. As he approached the pearly gates, he was greeted by St. Peter. The lawyer looked around in awe, impressed by the beauty of heaven. However, he couldn't help but ask St. Peter, "Are you sure it is my time?" "I'm not that old." St. Peter smiled and replied, "What do you mean? You're 86 years old." The lawyer was surprised. "No, I'm not. I'm only 58. Why do you think I'm 86? St. Peter's expression turned more serious and said, "Well, we just added up all of the hours you've billed to your clients, and it turns out you've lived 86 years worth of time." So a young lawyer, defending a businessman in a lawsuit, feared he was losing the case and asked his senior partner if he should send a box of cigars to the judge to curry favor. The senior partner was horrified. "The judge is an honorable man," he said. "If you do that, I guarantee you lose the case." Eventually, the judge ruled in the young lawyer's favor. "Aren't you glad you didn't send those cigars?" the senior partner asked. "Oh, I did send them," the younger lawyer replied. "I just enclosed my opponent's business card with them." So a big city lawyer went duck hunting in rural North Alberta. He shot and dropped a bird, but it fell into a farmer's field on the other side of a fence. As the lawyer climbed over the fence, an elderly farmer drove up on his tractor and asked him what he was doing. The litigator responded, "I shot a duck and it fell in this field, and now I'm going to retrieve it." The old farmer Peter replied, "This is my property, and you are not coming over here." The indignant lawyer said, "I am one of the best trial lawyers in Canada, and if you don't let me get that duck, I'll sue you and take everything you own." The old farmer smiled and said, "Apparently, you don't know how we settle disputes in Alberta. We settle small disagreements like this with the three-kick rule." The lawyer asked, "What is the three-kick rule?" The farmer replied, "Well, because the dispute occurs on my land, I get to go first. I kick you 3 times and then you kick me 3 times and so on back and forth until someone gives up." The lawyer quickly thought about the proposed contest and decided that he could easily take the old codger. He agreed to abide by the local custom. The old farmer slowly climbed down from the tractor and walked up to the attorney. His first kick planted the toe of his heavy steel-toed work boot into the lawyer's groin and dropped him to his knees. His second kick to the midriff sent the lawyer's last meal gushing from his mouth. The lawyer was on all fours when the farmer's third kick to his rear end sent him face first into a fresh cow pie. Summoning every bit of his will and remaining strength, the lawyer very slowly managed to get to his feet. Wiping his face with the arm of his jacket, he said, "Okay, you old fart. Now it's my turn." The old farmer smiled and said, "Nah, I give up. You can have the duck." A very successful lawyer parked his brand new Lexus in front of the office, ready to show it off to his colleagues. As he opened the door, a truck came roaring past and completely tore off the driver's door of the Lexus. The lawyer immediately grabbed his cell phone and dialed 911. When a policeman arrived, the lawyer was still screaming hysterically. His Lexus, which he had just picked up the day before, was now completely ruined and would never be the same, no matter how the body shop tried to make it new again. After the lawyer finally wound down from his ranting, the cop shook his head in disgust. "I can't believe how materialistic you lawyers are," he said. "You are so focused on your possessions that you don't notice anything else. How can you say such a thing?" asked the lawyer. The cop replied, "Didn't you notice that your left arm is missing from the elbow down? It must have been torn off when the truck hit you." The lawyer looked down to his left side and let out a terrible scream. "Oh my God, my Rolex." So a group of 3 travelers, a rabbi, a Hindu, and a lawyer, were on a road trip when their car broke down in the countryside one evening. Stranded and with no phone signal to call for help, they decided to walk to the nearest farm in search of assistance. As they walked, the sun set and the trio found a farmhouse and knocked on the door. The farmer, a kind-hearted man, welcomed them inside but explained that it was too late for a tout ruck to come. He also said he had only 2 extra beds and that one of them would have to sleep in the barn. The Hindu, being a humble and spiritual person, volunteered to sleep in the barn. But minutes later, he knocked on the door and said, "There is a cow in the barn. It's against my beliefs to sleep in the same building as a cow." The rabbi, being a compassionate person, then offered to sleep in the barn instead. But soon he was back knocking on the door as well, saying, "There is a pig in the barn, and I cannot shelter in a building with a pig." Feeling the pressure, the lawyer, not wanting to appear rude or unhelpful, reluctantly agreed to sleep in the barn. Shortly after, there was another knock on the door, and the farmer opened it. To his surprise, it was the pig and the cow. An ambitious lawyer who had spent his entire career working tirelessly to build his reputation was working late one night in his office. He was poring over legal documents, strategizing on how to win his next big case, when out of nowhere Satan appeared before him. The lawyer initially startled but tried to remain calm. He thought to himself, "It's a hallucination or dream." The devil, in his most charismatic voice, made him a tempting offer. "I will make it so you win every case that you try for the rest of your life. Your clients will worship you, your colleagues will be in awe, and you will make enormous amounts of money. All you have to do is give me your soul, your wife's soul, the souls of your children, your parents, grandparents, and those of all your friends." The lawyer thought about it for a moment, then asked, "But what's the catch?" One day, an engineer who had dedicated his life to making things more efficient and comfortable for others had passed away and was unknowingly sent to hell. On arriving, The engineer was horrified by the conditions in hell. It was too hot. The air was filled with the smell of sulfur, and all the lakes were on fire. But, true to his nature, the engineer couldn't just sit idle by and let things remain so unbearable. He immediately went to work, installing central air conditioning to cool things down, ventilation systems to exhaust the sulfur fumes, and treatment tanks to clean the lake water. As time passed, the engineer's improvements to hell began to get noticed. The other inhabitants of hell were starting to enjoy their time there much more, and even Satan himself couldn't help but take notice of the change. So it wasn't much of a surprise when a heavenly audit found that the engineer had been mistakenly sent to hell instead of heaven, and God demanded custody of the engineer. Satan, not wanting to lose the engineer who had made his life so much better, replied, "No way. Things have really improved down here since that engineer showed up. There's no way I'm handing him over to you." God's patience was wearing thin, and he threatened to sue Satan for custody. Satan, unfazed, retorted, "Oh yeah, and where are you going to find a lawyer?" So a local charity office realized one day that the organization had never received a single donation from the town's most successful lawyer. So the person in charge of contributions called the lawyer to persuade him to contribute. Our research shows that out of a yearly income of at least $500,000, you give not a penny to charity. Wouldn't you like to give back to the community in some way? The lawyer mulled this over for a moment and replied, "First, did your research also show that my mother is dying after a long illness and has medical bills that are several times her annual income?" Embarrassed, the charity representative mumbled, No." The lawyer interrupts, "Or that my brother, a disabled veteran, is blind and confined to a wheelchair." The stricken charity guy began to stammer out an apology, but was interrupted again. "Or that my sister's husband died in a traffic accident." The lawyer's voice rising in indignation, leaving her penniless with 3 children. The humiliated charity collector, completely beaten, said simply, "Sorry, I had no idea." On a roll, the lawyer cut him off once again. "So if I don't give any money to them, why should I give any to you?"